Hey, I'm Miriam. Last year I gave my little brother a kidney. None of us really thought too much about kidney disease in my family until last year. We had a slight inkling that there could be a problem with our little brother. About 17 years ago, he had strep throat, a very common case of strep throat. But the strep infection attacked his kidneys and it created reduced function. So over the years, it didn't seem like that big a deal. It was something he kept an eye on. But as he grew older, he was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and he suffered with high blood pressure. And these three things together created total renal failure. So we figured out really quickly that it was a big stinking deal, that he was going to have a transplant and that he would quickly go on dialysis. I did some research and I learned that being on dialysis is a way to stay alive, but it's really no way to live. And he has young children, and that was just not an option in my opinion. I mean, I'm the big sister. I'm going to get tested. That was easy. It was easy peasy. Never really dawned on me not to do it at first. So as we started this process, first my brother had to be approved to be in the living donor transplant program in our city. And then I was the first person to get tested, and you know, I've told many people you have to be healthy as an astronaut to give a kidney. But first things first, did some preliminary blood testing, and wouldn't you know, I was 100% match, which is crazy. It's bananas to be not twins. You know, siblings who are not twins only have a 25% chance of being 100% match. But I was 100% match, and I was thrilled. And that really, I think, drove my decision to feel so comfortable about the fact that I was doing the right thing for me and for my brother. So we were beyond fortunate to get to do this transplant preemptively. He never went on dialysis. The first person who was tested happened to be 100% match. Woohoo! And so that's how I really knew I was doing the right thing for both of us. So my family was split about whether or not this was a good idea for me to be the living donor. My mother was thrilled. My children were okay with it. They're grown. They're in their 20s, and they thought it was wonderful because they love their Uncle John. My other brother is not a good candidate for donation, and so I think he was relieved that I was a match. My little brother, I think, was so relieved and so happy that I wanted to do it. And so that was wonderful and A-okay. But my husband was not on the donation train. He did not want me to do this. He was worried. He felt like, you know, he knows enough about science and medicine to understand that this is not without risks or possible complications. And so he and I disagreed the entire time I was going through the testing and the process leading up into the actual donation day. I really can't say that this was ever a difficult situation or decision for me. Once I found out I was such a strong match, I felt really at peace. I had prayed about it. I consulted my physician. I did a lot of research, meeting other donors and other recipients who had been through either a kidney transplant or some other form of living donor transplantation. And I made an educated decision, and despite the fact that my husband really didn't want me to do it, we agreed to disagree very respectfully, and I was at peace. I can only tell you that it felt providential, that everything worked out so well, from insurance challenges to getting into the program in the hospital of our choice, and getting the team that we felt so comfortable with, the team of surgeons. Everything just came together in a way that seemed divine. And I was so comfortable doing this. I knew I was doing the right thing for me and my brother. So as I was being rolled down the hall into surgery, I kissed my husband goodbye, and I thought, ha! We're here, we're doing this. And I was so excited. I wasn't scared, not one little bit. The best moment after surgery for me was seeing my husband and being able to let him know that I was fine, that I had done well through the surgery, and his worries were over. The second best moment, of course, was seeing my little brother, but he actually had a hard time coming out of the anesthesia, and so it wasn't as great as I thought that moment would be, but it was good. It was still very sweet. My recovery time was really fast. I went back to work after about 10 days, and I worked half days from home and then in the office half a day. I will tell you, I was really, really tired. Fatigue is something that I was warned about, and it was real. I was really tired. I was tired for about 2 months, just super tired. And then after the second month, I noticed I turned a corner and I felt a little bit more like myself, but I still suffered with fatigue. You know, I'm several months out now, and I almost feel like I'm back to being myself. The one thing that was the hardest for me was learning to sleep on my back. I'm a side sleeper, and that was not an option for a really long time. And that's one of the only annoying things about the whole physical process for me. The pain was never really horrible. Even immediately after, I just didn't have a ton of pain, and maybe I was really fortunate in that respect, but it wasn't that bad. It just really wasn't that bad. The worst part has been being really tired and having to learn to sleep on my back. I think there were a lot of lessons learned in this process. I mean, I guess I had a really big dose of gratitude on many levels. So I was so thankful that I was healthy enough to do this for my little brother. And I think he was so grateful and thankful that I love him enough to want to do it, and that he was healthy enough to receive a kidney. It gave him a new lease on life and gave his children a much more active dad for the next many years. And I guess I learned that I'm really brave, and I learned that the physicians involved in this are amazing. And so the combination of this happy heart and this grateful attitude for all the pieces of this puzzle are immense. And I don't know how to say what I learned the most. I guess I walked away with just a real spirit of gratitude. After donating a kidney for my little brother, he and I are closer than ever. We were close to begin with, but we have just a really special bond, bonded by the bean. I think there's this interesting respect, funny respect level I have now from my kids. They think I'm such a badass for doing this. My health is great. I feel wonderful. My brother is doing amazingly well. I'm still a little tired. I probably will be for a while, but that's okay. I don't mind. I've learned to drink a ton of water and listen to my body more, rest when I need to. But no big changes. Nothing really all that dramatically different for me. But the dramatic difference is for my brother. I mean, he now has a shot at a really healthy life, and he didn't have it. He did not have it before. One of the biggest surprises for me, and I mentioned it earlier, was having to learn to sleep on my back. It took several months for me to be able to sleep on my sides, and I've turned that corner now. It's all better, but that was kind of shocking. The other thing that was surprising to me was the reaction by strangers and people I know but don't know too well, when they learn about this transplant, there's this crazy level of awe and respect and funny gratitude that they have for me for what I did for my brother. It's really interesting. It's like the very best of human nature. So those two things have been surprising, and I really can't say that I have any regrets. There's nothing that I can think of that I would have done differently, that I wish didn't have to happen. I mean, I just don't really have any regrets about this or any do-overs. The very best part of giving my brother a kidney is the opportunity to demonstrate to my children and my niece and nephew what it means to do something really big for someone else, because there's so many lessons in that that's, just full of God's love and plan for us and trusting His plan for us, and the ability to trust myself and do something really big. I think that to me is the greatest part of this whole donation. My advice is this: if you're thinking about giving someone a kidney, meet with other people who have done it. That's what I did. I met with 7 different people who had either given or received a kidney, and that was transformative for me, to not just depend on what I was reading on a screen or what I was being told by the physicians, but to talk to people to understand what motivated them to do it and how they feel now, what the process was like. That was really helpful. Secondly, if you do this, listen to your doctors. Drink all the water they tell you to drink. Rest after your surgery. Don't push it too hard. Listen to your body. If you're tired, take a nap. That's what I did. And I really had a great recovery. And finally, the third thing I would say is, if you do this, talk about it. Tell people what you've done. Don't be shy to say, hey, I just gave my brother a kidney. It's a great conversation starter and a fun fact. So those are my 3 pieces of advice.